Think outside the box, if you will. I mean, go there, go off campus. Let's think this through. And sure enough, that's where the Mustang was born. When it finally hit, it took the country by storm.
Hello everyone, welcome to another edition of Cars in Context. I'm your host, John Clor. You know, this is the Motor City, and this is the show where we put cars into the context of your everyday life. We love to celebrate all the rich heritage we have here in Grosse Pointe and in Detroit, Michigan for the auto industry, but we will make no apologies for our decidedly Detroit perspective. And today we're going to give you real perspective, not the kind of perspective you think you get from your favorite reporting magazine. Our topic today is consumer retorts. Are you getting unreliable ratings? We're going to talk about the latest car ratings that came out in one of your favorite magazines. And to do that, we've got none other than Chris Sawyer of thevirtualdriver.com. Chris, thanks for coming.
That's the most exercise I got all week.
Yeah, I'm exhausted. I have to go lay down now. I think I threw my back out. Chris, we know for many, many years, because we worked in the magazine industry, that ratings are kind of a tricky thing depending on methodology used.
Right.
And we know what some of the problems that are going on, why some of these cars in their annual ratings, why they get called unreliable when really they're not unreliable. It's got nothing to do with it. And some of the methodology.
Inconvenient, maybe.
Yeah, it's an inconvenient truth.
Oh.
Yeah. So anyway, we're going to tell you all about this and give you the actual context of what is in those reports. But first we have to find out
What's in the news?
Oh, God, he's so good. I love when he finishes my sentences. Anyway, today we need, speaking of consumer reports, a new survey found that they talked about infotainment. And I love the word infotainment. See, it's information.
And entertainment.
Is this thing on? Yeah.
All put together in one.
Now, everybody couldn't stand the early infotainment systems because they're hard to figure out, and you had to look in the user manual, and couldn't get them to work right, and they became
iDrive.
They were just infuriating. People got angry, so they said their car was unreliable. No, but anyway, so nowadays they just done a new study. Now, 88% of people that have voice controls in their car, and you know, I purposely try to buy the car without those.
That's because you're cheap.
Okay, well, thank you very much for pointing that out to everybody. Yeah, there goes my hidden secret. But now they say that they have also nav. Nav is expensive too. They say they now are using them frequently. And oh, by the way, over half said that they're now getting comfortable with this technology in their car. How about that, Chris?
What a surprise.
Okay, now listen to this. The magazine survey said that none of you ever listen to CDs in your car anymore. So honey, Jenny, please, those 8,000 CDs, why do you keep playing them? It says here that nobody's doing that. She thought Nickelback was something that was in the grocery store.
Canadian bacon, right?
Yeah, well, she's getting CDs from all her nieces. What is this? I never heard of this group. She's getting rappers. She's doing rappers. She's doing this, you know. Honey, they don't use CDs anymore. Yeah, but guess what they do use? FM radio still reigns supreme in the car. Can you believe that, Chris?
That's what Rush Limbaugh was on FM.
No, it's not. 71% of drivers say they do listen to FM radio. So they're not tuned in to News Radio 95 for the traffic reports heading downtown. They don't go to work, apparently. Yeah. Now, people do tend to use inbuilt-in nav, but smartphones are kind of passing. You know, remember everybody had a nav system, and then everybody had their window broken and stolen, and then now they're ripping the dashboards out of your car with a nav system, so they're just using their smartphone. Makes sense,
That's why they call them smartphones.
When it comes to making calls, drivers are still not really they prefer to use their cell phones over the Bluetooth.
Oh yeah, because they want everybody to hear the call.
Oh.
And
Well, are you saying something you shouldn't? Okay.
Could be. Have you ever talked to my brother Jim? Anyway.
I do. Okay. Well, give me some other news from someplace else.
Okay. Refrigerants are still a hot issue in Germany. Now remember,
I'm going to throw a cold shoulder to this one.
European Union mandated new refrigerants because they wanted to be environmentally friendly because of all the holes in the ozone layer, which those holes, by the way, are closing up.
Yeah. We put Clarisil on them. They clear it up.
They've got
well, you did this. You talked about this before.
Yes. R1234YF.
And you thought he was making that up. That's the
No.
name of the refrigerant.
I thought that was what Peyton Manning said before he got the ball.
R1234 YF. Hike.
But Germany still hasn't ordered the automakers to comply with this
Why not?
because they think it's dangerous. Several German automakers believe the new coolant will release toxic fumes if it catches fire in a severe accident.
Toxic fumes, catches fire, not good.
Uh-huh.
But is it true?
I've got a brother in climate control at one of the majors, and he says, yeah, he says, you got to do an awful lot of work to get this stuff to go up. And he says, well, Mercedes likes to use carbon dioxide. And he says, I want to play some similar tricks. I can make theirs go up too.
So the exploding myth is all just a bunch of garbage? It doesn't really explode?
Pretty much.
Then why is Germany, what are they going to do about it?
They want to do their own way.
Oh, so are they going to get in trouble for not
But don't you think it's funny that CO2 is a problem when it's in the atmosphere, but when you put it in your air conditioning system, it's okay?
I don't understand.
And it doesn't work very well.
Yeah, I think CO2 is not the problem.
No.
So that's really crazy, but we're used to government intervention being crazy. But let's talk about craziness. Augmented reality, you know what that is? No, wait a minute.
That used to be my weekend.
Dr.
before
Dave
I got a
Bali.
girlfriend. But anyway.
Dr. Dave Bali talks about augmentation in a different way, but we're talking about augmented reality for cars is when you use this new technology in the automotive world, and there's one automaker that's using AR for its owner's manual. Here's what you do. If you have an Alfa Romeo, I think it's the 4C, you can download it.
Yeah, I've got $70,000, right, yeah.
Well, there are some people out there that get the $70,000 Alpha, I'm sure. If you're watching this show, you can send us a couple bucks. We'll meet you
Sergio
up,
is watching, I'm
buy
sure.
us a beer up at the Village Grill. But you take your smartphone, and on 33 spots in the car, this app will tell you, like, when do I change oil? You tap the oil thing, it'll tell you when you change oil. You know, how do you learn to use this control? You put your app, and it'll come right up on your screen, and wherever you're tapping, it'll tell you how to use this, how to use that, right on your phone.
That's smart. I like that.
I think it's cool.
I think that's neat.
Now, could this be, could the tech challenge people? Those of you who still have a VCR?
No, they still
Flashing
have
12?
They still have flip phones. It won't work with
Well,
those.
flip phones are kind of cool, actually. Now they're coming back, but
What,
so
'cause
are-
you have one?
I have a rotary. It's really cool. Landline. Hey,
I've got one of those.
you got a landline?
Yes.
Awesome. You have a Nintendo?
No.
64? I have
No.
an Atari. Yeah. So anyway, for you,
I might still have it, but it's in the back. No, we got rid of it.
Space
It's
Invader.
taking up room.
Graphics. What are graphics? Great selling point for the tech challenge people, I think, though, if you eventually get it, because everybody's going to have a smartphone pretty soon. In fact, pretty soon we will no longer be talking to each other. You won't be getting the show. We won't be in. Everything
Well,
will
it could be
on.
like the movie The President's Analyst, where it's all a chip in your head.
It'll all be a chip in your head.
And then we won't have people who are mentally talking to themselves. So you could take people
You're
into
talking to
conversation.
anybody. Yeah. So give me some better news than this.
Okay, well, recently China began investigating and even fining car makers, beginning with Audi, Chrysler, and 10 Japanese parts makers for overcharging and or limiting the distribution of spare car parts.
I heard about that. They're saying, oh, you got to get your
Well,
part.
now India's doing the same thing.
Now why are they who are they fining? Is this the same thing?
14 automakers. They decided to add 4 to the,
Really?
Yep, they've been fined a combined total of $420 million over antitrust violations with spare parts.
Come on.
Automakers must now sell spare parts and diagnostic tools to independent repair shops and honor warranties of cars repaired at those shops.
Well, Chris.
With China and India cracking down, others may join in.
Chris, isn't that just a money grab? Come on, I mean, do you want everybody to make some knockoff of your parts?
Oh God, no, because they don't crash correctly.
Yeah, we had a show, I think, back in the old in Heartbeat days. We brought in Steve Lubinsky from Crash Parts Business, and he showed us knockoffs that just they disintegrated.
They just crumble.
There's a reason why they're cheaper.
Yes.
Yeah. Crazy. Stop fining us for doing the right thing. Speaking of doing the right thing, I've been going to auto shows, and sometimes I get myself in trouble.
Well, you've been going to auto shows since before there were cars.
I went to my first Detroit Autorama in 1961 when it first went to Kobo as a little tiny boy. And I fell in love with cars then, and I just can't get it out of my soul. But last time I was at the Chicago Auto Show, I ran into one of those dancing hamsters.
Yeah.
Yeah, I couldn't stand it. I can't stand gimmicks to sell cars. Cars could sell on their own beauty, technology, whatever. But the gimmicks I'm not into. But check this out, folks. Kia rocketing to the stars. Their success is legendary. The last couple of years, they've increased their brand value from about $930 million back in 07 to $5.5 billion now.
What do you think that could be from building crappy cars that are ugly to building nice cars that look good?
It could be helping them because of the growth, they just think that everybody knows about them, and you know, they used to have cartoon cars. They were silly looking, and you'd see, oh, there's a Kia. Are you? And you got them because they were just, you know, and then they give you this warranty. And you thought the warranty was great, except you realize now today the warranty doesn't cover really anything. But the point is that they came to the U.S., they started having us design their cars here, and they've grown hugely. But here's the problem. They still have a perception problem, Chris. Check this out. This is a recent report from the ALG Brand Perception Quality Study. All right. They said that Kia ranked near the bottom of car brand recognition, only ahead of Suzuki, which by the way, Suzuki doesn't sell cars here anymore.
Yeah, could be a problem.
And behind the Daimler Smart brand. You know those little smart cars? I'm sorry if you own one of those. Really?
Really sorry
Serious?
that you own
If you own one of those, really? Don't you have any self-esteem? But anyway,
you're not getting any mileage
so
on that thing, are you?
despite Kia and their dancing hamsters and their coolness, guess what? 40% of the car buying public in the United States said they don't know anything about Kia. What, tell me about them.
Well, sure they didn't think it was a Swedish homeware store?
No, that's IKEA.
Well,
So anyway, so don't let dancing hamsters sway you, folks. You should just buy a car, how cool it is or how good it is. But you know, speaking of cool,
you like it.
just because you like, buy something you like. It's still a free country until like next week. But anyway, now it's time for car trivia time. I know you love this.
Yes.
Car trivia times, we give you some kind of crazy question. We ask you to think about it, and after the break, we come back and we give you the answer because we're not mean.
Well, maybe you
Well,
are.
okay. Well, all right. So this one will really freak you out because this one stumped me. So I wanted to bring it on the show. And here's the question. And
But I knew the answer to this
see,
one.
well, duh. So here's
I'm so much smarter than you.
you are so smart. But it's
I
not,
should be in that chair, but you know what happened?
But
This.
it's my show. If you're so smart, how come it's my show? Okay. Okay, so here's the question, and then we'll give you the answer after the break. What automaker's first logo, their very first logo out of the box when they created themselves, had incorporated the Star of David. The Star of David was actually incorporated into this well-known automaker's logo. Figure that out, and after the break, we'll put Chris on the driver's seat to talk about consumer retorts and their unreliable ratings right after this. Hi, and welcome back to Cars in Context. I'm your host, John Clor. Today we're going to be talking about the consumer retorts, what unreliable ratings will do to some magazine coverage you may have read. And we've got with us Chris Sawyer of thevirtualdriver.com. Chris, thank you.
Thanks, John. I'm not going to let go. Sorry.
Chris, can I just let go of my, can
No,
we just,
no,
can we,
sorry. No,
we
no.
can do the rest of the show like,
Okay.
okay, so, okay, we have to, Chris, before we can talk about this killer
You got to
car.
tell me.
Yeah, this one, is,
If they've been watching the new Dodge commercials, they've seen it.
they really?
Yes. It's in the
Well, you
commercials.
just gave it away, my friend, because what automaker's first logo had incorporated the
I'm
Star
good
of
for that,
David
actually.
was the Dodge brothers, and if you look at this image, you can see the Star of David that is the original Dodge logo from their first cars,
It's in their new commercials.
and they got it in their new commercial.
Yeah, where they show the Dodge brothers and they go from the start of the company and they're driving the cars throughout the ages,
Yeah.
and they chase each other in the Viper and all that.
Very, very cool.
Yeah, it's pretty cool.
That was a piece
But
of
I-
trivia.
but-
No, and the Dodge brothers just lived down the street here, so I mean they were part of Detroit lore, as we say.
Oh yeah, especially
Yeah.
if you owned a bar.
Okay. Well, we'll talk about that later. So let's get to today's topic. We got to put you in the driver's seat because we know all about Consumer Reports. We were at car magazines for many, many years, and we understood that Consumer Report wasn't for the car people. They really, you know,
Or remember when they tested the Omni and Horizon and they flicked the steering wheel and let it go and it
went all over. the
went
place.
out of control?
Well,
And it was like, yeah, don't do that.
well, doctor, it hurts when I do this. Well, don't do that.
Exactly.
And it was the same year that I think in 1978, Omni Horizon was car of the year for Motor Trend. And yet, so they used to pick, like when the Pinto and the Vega and the Gremlin came out, they picked the Vega rusted out 2 years later, the engines blew up, and they had to wait 10 years.
But other than that, Mrs. Lincoln, what'd you think of the play? Yeah.
Okay, here's the problem with Consumer Reports, folks. If you're buying a washer and dryer and a toaster, I think, they're very scientific. All these guys, before they came to Consumer Report, they were on the Big Bang Theory.
They were not.
Okay, well, I thought, okay, they're kind of nerds. They're nerds. And when I go for car opinion, I don't really go to nerds. I go to car people. I talk to people like you.
Yeah, well, but at the same time, I also don't go to like Car and Driver or Motor Trend or Road Track.
That's true. Yeah, that is true, because that's the lamestream media, as we say. But so let's talk about Consumer Reports' latest reliability ratings, which I think is a misnomer. These cars that they rated near the bottom are not really technically unreliable, because when you have problems with things like infotainment,
doesn't keep the car from driving.
You can go it's just, if you don't want infotainment, don't order that package. Just get one without it if you can.
Not always the easiest thing to do, especially when you get up into the higher packages or the.
But why
cars.
is it that if you're unhappy with a car, you report to Consumer Reports, and then you say, I don't like this car. I couldn't. It took me a week to figure that out. And then it rates 0. And then all of a sudden, people look at, oh, this car's terrible. This is an unreliable car. Chris. That is
well.
It's wrong.
They should change their methodology to have another thing for infotainment ease of use, perhaps.
Or non-functional, like reliability to me is, why don't they take a car and drive the wheels off of it for 5 years and see which ones still hold up?
Well, that's why J.D. Power goes and talks to people after they've owned a car for 5 years, and they say, how did it go? And they
what did
say,
you
what's
replace?
your long-term
What
deal?
blew up on
exactly.
it? Yeah, that to me is reliability ratings. And it's not, the half circle on this rating is because they didn't like the way the clock shone off that the light came in and it blinded them. That was a half circle. The other part of their methodology, Chris, and you should mention this now, you who answer those reports, if you get Consumer Reports and send in I know how you are. You bought a car because, I bought the right cars. I'm smart because I get Consumer Reports. So when you got the survey back, you're not going to tell them all the things you hated about your choice. You're not going to tell the world that you were an idiot for buying that car, because it's a rolling pile of snot. You didn't want to tell the world that. So you'll just, love it. I'm the smartest person, and you send it back. There's a propensity for people to send back positive reviews on things they bought.
You cannot trust any survey, because the first thing about surveys they'll tell you is that people will give you an answer they think you want.
Duh. So now how does that affect these ratings? Are they really unreliable?
No, because unreliability means that I went out to start it and it didn't go, and I made it late to work or whatever. That's not unreliability is something that keeps you from being able to use the car or use a function when you need to use it. Being tough to use is something else entirely. And we all know that the infotainment systems on these cars, they've got, I'll never forget, BMW launched iDrive. And there we are sitting there at the 7 Series and got the little controller. And when you're sitting in a parking lot using it, hey, it's okay. But then the guy says, we have 777 functions that you can do with this little vehicle. And I sat there and said, well, I didn't know there were 777 things you wanted to do in the first
car.
place.
Yeah, unless it orders you pizza.
And for the first couple of weeks, you're driving down the road
Call
like
Hungry
this.
Howie's, ask for Jeremy.
You just going and drive. It's exasperating. They're getting easier to use.
Okay.
But I know people even said, well, give it to Apple. Apple makes things that are easy to use. I tried it once. I put my iPod, hooked it in before you had all the stuff you have now.
Okay.
It was impossible.
See,
it's great when you're working with it and that's all you're working on, but as something that is in addition to what you're doing for your main.
So your enjoyment level goes to 0. You can become frustrated, and you fill out this consumer report. Oh, this thing's good, it's awful. Send that in there, and there's your report. So, folks, that's not the reliable rating.
No, just use them as a guidepost.
Okay.
But buy what you want to buy, and if you think it's a problem, go into the dealership or rent the car and see what it's like, and use it yourself. That's the only way you're going to be able to. Or go to the auto show, for goodness sakes. Yeah. You know,
we're going to be there with Cars in Context, and with Jeremy and Lauren, we're going to see it. We'll see all the. And what's wrong with going to a car rental place for what, $40, $50 a night? Drive the car you're thinking of, and you really get to know it. You'll be driving it. What's wrong with taking a test drive? Did you know that most people today buy a car just online information and don't take the test drive? And
What
remember
the hell's wrong with you people?
on Chris's first show, I said to him, we had a news story that said they didn't have test drives anymore. And I said, Chris, that's like going into Costco and trying on a pair of pants, buying a pair of pants without trying it on. And what
And
did
I
you
said, that's never stopped you before, John.
say? So, but Costco doesn't have a dressing room.
That's right.
That's right. So anyway, and that's what didn't stop me before. But folks, this our interest to you, to tell you about this Consumer Report study, is to tell you when you take cars at face value, put them in the context of what you're going to use them for, and then drive them and get information. This is just part of the information you get.
We've had this argument at thevirtualdriver.com where people say you get too deep into some things. You know, why are you talking about the way this feels and that feels? You know, that's so minor. No, it's not. When you own this car and you're driving it every day back and forth, if the steering has got a little hitch in it, you're going to notice that day after
Yes.
day, and it's going to get worse as time goes on.
Drives you
want
crazy.
a car that feels good. You want, you know, the best car is the one that you don't notice what's wrong with it, because there is nothing wrong with it. You feel like it was designed around you. And the cars that are really good are the ones that you say, hey, I like this. I don't know what it is, but this car's fun.
That is really sage advice, especially around Thanksgiving. It's good to have a little sage.
And parsley.
Rosemary.
And thyme.
Yeah. Listen,
Thank you,
speaking of,
Simon
and
and
there's no
Garfunkel.
such thing as a minor problem. How do you know it's a minor? Does it have a helmet with a flashlight in it?
No, it's under 12.
Okay. So anyway, so now that you got that solved, let's do something a little more fun.
Okay.
Let's take a look at the pick of the week.
All right.
I know this one. I love this, Chris, because you know you come from an engineering background. We're all tinkerers. I was a state licensed mechanic for a while, and I know how to try to fix things. You know, some stuff. And this picture, folks, we took this picture when the Ford Pinto Stampede came to Detroit, actually to Dearborn at the Product Development Center. 40, 50, 60 cars came from all over the country, and they wanted to show off their old rides. Well, somebody popped the trunk on a 1980 coupe, and this is what we found inside the trunk.
Oh my goodness.
This is someone's idea how to put the battery into the trunk. Now, first of all, you don't put it on a board, bungee corded to your spare tire. And the reason why you don't do that is because the bungee cord could flip the
flexible.
yeah, and the battery could flip over and then spark, and you know, talk about Pinto fires.
Yeah. Well, he'd probably sue somebody, but you know.
No, folks, this is not how you do it. This is not how you fix it. So I love you. Now, send me with these pictures anytime you have one like this. Send it to me, jclor@carsandcontext.com. That to me is the pick of the week.
Absolutely.
So there are ways to get, you know, satisfaction from your car. That's not the way to do it.
No, no,
Yeah,
no, no, no.
but you know, that's not really, there's another part of the show, which I really ask everybody out there in TV land, send me a picture of your car and tell me why you have pride in your ride. And some of you people, and people that are in Detroit, will know this car, even though it's not from here. This Pride in My Ride, this picture I'm going to
Okay.
show you, this comes from a guy named Gord Phillips. He lives all the way up in Quesnel, British Columbia,
Oh, I knew he had to be
Canada.
Canadian. They call him Gord.
Gord, hey, Gord, yeah.
I don't know why they do
Where's
that.
the number
Gordon.
9 on him? Yeah.
He Gord.
All right, take a look at this car, folks. This is a custom 1967 Ford Mustang Shelby GT500. This car, this tricked out Shelby, the name of it's called Cardiac, as in cardiac arrest, but it's spelled with a K.
Cool.
Yeah, very cool.
With a K.
This was the runner. This was cool. This was runner-up for the Anna Riddler Award
Not
at
bad.
the 2012 Detroit Autorama. So if you're thinking to yourself, wait a minute,
bad.
I saw this car in Detroit. If you went to the Autorama, which if you watch Cars in Context, we go to the Autorama too. We have shows on YouTube. The Gord actually was runner-up to the Riddler Award.
Wow.
Now that's
something.
that's one of the finest custom cars in the country. The Riddler Award is not something to toy with. He had, Gord owns a trucking and excavating company up there in Canada, eh?
That's how you can afford it, eh?
Yeah, and he was a founding member of and a vice president of the Prospectors Car Club up there in Quesnel.
Ooh.
And Cardiac has been featured in Popular Hot Rodding and a 2014 BASF paint calendar. And he was at SEMA in the BASF paint booth alongside many of Chip Foose's cars.
I know Chip.
So now his greatest honor comes because now he's featured on Cars in Context, Pride My Ride.
There you go. That's much more
Can you
important.
believe it? I can't believe it. It's awesome. So if you have a car that you have pride in, send it to me, jclor@carsincontext.com, and we'll be sure to put it on the air. But you know, now the best part of the show is here.
We have the letters.
Yeah, well, viewer mail, every once in a while you send a letter in, and we make sure that Lauren Parrott at WMTV digs through the mailbag and finds us the very finest letters we can possibly have. Lauren, do you have letters for us today?
I do.
I can't believe it.
These are the very finest.
Oh, thank you for sorting through them. I'm glad you threw away the ones that are not very good.
Yes.
No, we don't do that, folks. Swear to God. We give you everything that you send in. We'll put it on the air. So, Chris, if it's a bad one, you take it. I want
Okay.
nothing to do with the bad ones.
This one comes to us from Tom M. of Grosse Pointe Farms, who watches Cars and Context on Comcast Cable Channel 915.
HD. God.
Dear Chris, I had recently heard that German Chancellor Angela Merkel's government plans to restrict passenger cars driving for free on the Autobahn.
What? No.
Damn it. A report said that Germany will make foreigners driving on the Autobahn pay as much as $165 a year to use the road.
No.
Do you think that will hurt tourism there?
Wait a minute.
Yeah.
Wait
Keep
a
me
minute.
from going there.
Didn't you say on one of our shows that you drove on the Autobahn?
Many times.
So, and you can go as fast as you want as long as you're left?
Not all the time.
Okay.
Because much of the Autobahn is restricted now.
So it's like Texas or Montana?
Yeah, you
where
get 80,
90. Isn't there a road in Texas you can pay to go 90 or something?
Oh, yeah.
Okay, so why would they want to restrict the foreigners? They're not doing this again. I remember World War I.
Or two.
No, wait a minute. Why would they do this, Chris?
Well, they want to keep the Eastern Europeans, the traffic down as much as they can on the Autobahns, because what's happened with the reunification and all of
can't
that
believe it.
was that the Eastern European truck drivers came in and they just hog the road. They do not move out of the way.
And so the people there are saying, hey, they're all plates that they don't like.
Well, yes.
So it's kind of like a protectionist thing.
It is, very much so, and a way to make money and pay for their roads. Don't tell Governor Sanders.
That's it. From now on, we're going to keep those people from Ohio off of our Michigan freeways.
There is nothing as
folks
much
from
fun
Toledo.
as nothing as much fun as being on the Autobahn doing 135 and looking behind you and seeing how this yellow dot is getting very big very quickly and moving over and watching him pass you at 180.
Yeah.
That is
How much
great.
fun is
And
that?
wishing you were in that car.
Yeah. Okay, let me try to slow
turn.
things down here. This one comes to us from Kristen D. Kristen. She lives in Grosse Pointe Woods, and she watches us on AT&T Uverse Channel 99. Kristen asked me, Dear John, I have read someplace, hope it was thevirtualdriver.com, that Toyota is now worried that there will be so much demand for their driverless car technology, stop laughing, John, that it's developing, the autonomous cars carry the risk, ready for this, of adding to urban sprawl and pollution, as they may encourage commuters to travel farther to work, hence more pollution. Do you, John, think driverless cars will really cause more pollution? Kristen, I hope to God not, because I just don't like autonomous cars. I don't like the thought of them. If you want to read your paper, just get on the bus, take the new M1 rail system downtown, go carpool with your friend. Driving is a joy. And if they think, we're all going to have them, Chris, I'm not going to buy one. Unless they pry the steering wheel out of my cold, frozen hands, I won't give up driving. What's wrong with me?
Oh, that's a whole show.
So could this technology be so well adopted?
Think of how it works. You get something like that, and now you don't have to drive. You don't have to do all that stuff. You can spend your time doing other things, and your boss is going to find things for you to do.
Yeah, you have to be checking your email.
So you really don't want autonomous
So this
cars.
is why you want that.
Semi-autonomous that gets you out of trouble.
If you're in the car and it's driving itself, you're going to make you check your email. That's why that flip phone will come in handy. You don't have any email on it.
I'm sorry, boss. I've still got
I
this.
am on flip phone.
I've still got this jitterbug.
Can't check my email. If you have a question you'd like to have us answer on the air at QWERTY board, send it to me, J. Clor, carsandcontext.com. We'll put it on the air, and then Lauren will bring it up, and God knows what we'll be able to give you as an answer. Chris, thank
We'll
you
just make it
so
up
much
after.
for coming on board again to thevirtualdriver.com.
You're
It's the
welcome,
place
Jim.
where we like to visit, and hopefully you'd like to visit here. And remember that our motto here at Cars and Context is that knowledge is power. I've been your host, John Clor, and thanks for watching.